Okay. Good morning and thank you. And thank you for being part of this workshop, sir, and those who will join. I am new to a lot of things, which means I'm not as biased as I'm learning. I have no point of reference to determine or dictate how I do things. I thank God, though, for our extension office and other individuals and organizations who I can go to for information. So this morning, I've been tasked with talking about land leasing primarily, and then as needed or as time allows, with some marketing ideas. And I want to start by saying one of the things that I, myself as an urban farmer had to learn was these, or rather, to make decisions regarding how I farm. So I'm calling this Land Leasing 101 according to Carmen. So I'm just literally going to share some of my experience, what I did, how I did, some of the lessons I learned, and some things that I think others can really take away from this and grow with. So the first thing I learned was to stop and pray. Now I know to some people that may seem like you're praying for land. Well, no, I didn't pray for land. I prayed for whether or not I should lease, purchase, who should I do that with, how should I do it, what are standard terms. As a person new, I didn't even know how much I needed to grow on. So relationship 101 for me is going out, meeting people who potentially have space that I may want to lease, because leasing is no joke. We have to consider lots of things. How are we improving other people's space and the cost it would be for us? So I went out, decided, first I had to decide what I really wanted to grow and how I wanted to grow it, and deciding how much space I would need. So living in the inner city, I had to consider what was on the land previous, if it was not previously farmland, and the intricacies of developing that land so that I could grow efficiently in that space. One of the things I learned early on was in speaking with people about their land, it's their land. And any improvements that I were to make with it, I would have to get buy in, preferably earlier than later. So I decided to just uh, find 3 locations that I thought were ideal, meaning that were safe for me in the urban city. Primarily, they were on main streets. So I needed an area that was secure. I needed a space where fencing was there. That was important to me, that there was already a fence. Who, wants to put up a fence on an acre or two of land? So I spoke with the people. I say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. I notice you have space. Are you willing to lease it or sell it? And I had to kind of negotiate what that would look like with them. So communication is the first thing in land leasing. You communicate first and foremost with yourself. Make sure you're clear on what you need. And even if you're not clear, narrow it down to some of the basic things that you want in the land. Is there water there? And if not, how are you going to get it there? We do need to water. We cannot depend on the rain as our primary source of water. So I had to decide uh, what that would look like. Security, water, bathroom facilities. If I'm going to be there all day, what does that look like? How close to traffic? How many other inputs would affect what I'm growing and how I'm growing? Who else has access to that land? am I leasing a portion of it? And how many other people need to or will get in and out of that space? And how do I work with them? So that's the basics of what that initial communication looks like. Are they willing to share expenses with me in exchange for me improving their land? Because whenever we add to the soil or conservation practices, whatever we're doing, it's really going to benefit them in several ways. So, is money the only agreement we need to work on? How else can we negotiate price? So, securing land, communication is first. Decide what you need, what you want, how you can benefit the landowner, and how you can approach the landowner with some ideas that maybe they hadn't thought about what leasing could look like. It's really important also as part of the leasing agreement or the leasing process is to talk about what it looks like during your non-leasing season, your non-usage season. For instance, if I'm not growing, what is happening with that land? Do I use cover crops? Will they consider that growth of um, products or produce that I can resell and maybe profit from? Are they willing to help me cover the cost of seedlings for these cover crops? Because once again, we are improving their land. The goal is to leave everything better than we found it, if we're possible, and always, always leave the owner better off than we found the owner. And that may seem counterproductive to some people, like, hey, I'm here to make money. Well, no, you're here to, well, I'm here. Let me make it that, put it this way. My goals in leasing were to not just grow good and healthy food, but to also grow, improve the soil. So when I try to consider that when I'm leasing space. So the space that I am currently on is 6 acres. I am leasing and actually using 2 of those acres now. When I started off, I used 39 square yards, not a lot of space. Then the next year, I moved up to an acre. Now I'm up to 2 acres. And as I go, I'm improving. And with that improvement of the land, my lease agreement has changed. So we have to always be flexible in how we do it. He is so impressed with what I'm doing till I'm getting this more land at the same lease price because of, I believe primarily it's because my desire was to improve his space, not just make my business profitable. So that is one of the things I always try to encourage people to do. Consider how we all benefit, and that will win out over time. So the total 6 acres that are there, we are already in negotiation with what that would look like as I'm moving forward. So land leasing includes everything. So now that we've done our initial communicating, we now know what we want, how we can improve the land for the landowner. The next thing we do is talk with the landowner about insurance. That's all a part of leasing. So there should be insurance on their land and but there may not be. What does that look like for you? What does, are you just insuring your crops? Are you just insuring your tools? Will the landowner allow you to leave your equipment there at no additional charge? And if there's a possibility of shared insurance, what would that look like? Is that just liability so that if you get hurt on the property or just for his property? So those are some things you can negotiate with your landowner, but preferably in advance with your insurance agents. What does that look like? What are some options that you have? What are the types of insurance? agricultural risk insurance, enhanced coverage options. There are margin protection insurance. There's price loss coverage insurance. There's revenue protection insurance. There's supplemental coverage options. There's yield protections. Most of those will cover you, but as part of the relationships, I want to encourage you to see what insurance are available to help cover the property owner as well, in addition to what they may have. So, conversation is going to be critical throughout the leasing process. And I think that's the part I want to really hammer in because initially I did not know all of this. I just vaguely remember my first apartment. They had a lease. They had this little lease thing, and I just read through it and signed it. Right? Only to find out after moving into the first apartment that, wow, there were some things I should have considered and asked for. So then I had this quick tutorial on addendums. But if you can kind of think through a lot in advance, it alleviate a lot of heartache, especially in the area where I live. Most of our landowners are absent, meaning they do not live here. So then it's not as if they can come here every day, every time I have a request. So consider that. Where does your land owner live? When was the last time they actually accessed the property? Do they know what's there and what's not there? So part of the agreement will should be to do a walk around the property at several times. So don't be in a hurry to get land. Consider going on a day when it's wet. Go on a day after the rain. See just how much land is really available for use. Consider the adjacent property. Consider what it looks like at night. In case you get out there and you're really having a good time harvesting or planting or seeding or whatever you're doing, and all of a sudden it's night, it's dark. Are there lights there? Are you allowed to bring in generators or anything to increase the lighting? So those are some things to really consider that I did not consider in advance, only to find out that even in urban areas on a major city street, that there were no lights on the property. So where there were street lights at each corner of the block, it is pitch dark over there uh, on the actual property. So those are things that need to be negotiated in the lease. And then also to help you decide if that's the best space to lease. Because if you've got to now put in fencing, lighting, if you've got to put all these things in space, how is that helping you? It's helping the landowner because you are improving the property. And even if it's portable equipment for lighting and things of that nature, those are portable, those are expenses that you will incur up front that will not, well, it will benefit you, but it will not benefit you initially because now that's output that you're doing. So consider that. So we've talked about all the things we need to communicate with our owner. And I have found that Purdue, our extension offices, Purdue Extension, and they have some farm management specialists. So you can actually take workshops. They're not offered often, but you can make a request and then they can put one in place for you if it's not currently offered, where you can actually sit down and go through the steps of some agreements, what they could look like. So you'll have an idea of what you may want. So resources, that communication is important. So find the resources that you need in advance. Consider sharing with your landowner exactly what you're going to grow, what you think the profits may look like. Um, and I find that to be critical so that if there are other activities on the property, they will know how to respect your space as far as what they spray around you or things like that. We have bees on our property, and Because I shared with my landowner what I wanted to do, he was able to tell me of something I had no clue about, wouldn't have even known how to ask for this help. He told me that if I go to the Board of Health department, they will put me on a list that our city has where they will not aerial spray for mosquitoes in my area. Who knew? So the conversations are really critical. So I make sure I share that point with everybody. Speak with them. They may or may not know things, but just in conversation, sometimes you may hear something that will trigger a thought. So please consider your board of health, your extension office, and any other farm service agencies will know some of the things that can happen or that may you may want to consider in your lease agreement. So he's mentioned that to me. So I was able to add that in writing that they would not spray anything in my area within so many yards of where I grow. So, and he was open to that. So, whatever they would normally have sprayed for the grass in the front of the property, they no longer do that because he mentioned to me about the aerial spraying for mosquitoes. So keep your listening ears on when you're negotiating the lease. And don't be in a hurry. I think that's the real point I want to stress. Like we get excited, we want to grow, but just consider all the options that are out there and what that looks like. One of the other things I really want to mention is do not go with a standard lease. Read over whatever there is presented if they have a standard one, but please consider modifications. Consider if you want to purchase this land on contract. Do you want to try it for a year or two and say, hey, I strongly suggest you do not enter into a 1 year lease on any circuit for any reason. Even if you think you don't want to do it, I suggest a minimum, depending on what you're growing, of a 5 year lease. That gives you time to grow, sorry, excuse me, to learn the space because you've got to learn. So if you go in and you think, wow, this is sandy soil and I want to grow citrus, this is going to be perfect. Well, climate change and other things may have you thinking differently by the next season. So consider a longer term lease. I'm saying 5 years because that's what I did and it worked exceptionally well for me. So we were able to negotiate last year for the next five because it's been 5 years. Now I know everything I need to know about my soil, how to improve it, what not to do, where to source my water. Things like that is what I'm learning. I had to learn the first 5 years. So the first 5 years is a learning curve. It was for me. So now I'm deciding I really like the space. Now I've gone back to them for the next 5 years to a lease on contract. So now I'm leasing with option to buy. Now, for me as a new person to farming in general, those were steps that I needed to take to, first of all, make sure that I really wanted to farm forever, but also to manage my money in a way that will really honor myself, my household, and my budget. Now, for those who are comfortable, you know what you want, you've done it before, you have family, then sure, go out and buy the land. But I think leasing is a great way for new farmers to get started, new growers to get started. And there are so many options to land leasing. You can create what you want. Now, I've talked a lot about what it looks like with the lease holder, the land holder, but I don't want to leave out other key people when it comes to leasing. A real estate person, a realtor, and or an attorney. Whatever you put in your agreement, even if you choose a standard lease because that's all they will allow, have someone else look over it with different eyes. A different set of lens will get you far and will leave you happy long term. So I did have someone to look over my lease. I had a real estate attorney, I'm sorry, a real estate attorney to look over it. And I had someone local, although she was not well versed on farming, she was well versed on our city requirement. And that was important to me because I am renting in the city on a major street. Uh, so I had to make she knew that that particular area that I chose at the end was zoned for farming, and those things are critical. She knew that that area was also partially zoned for residential, which meant for me that I now had access to trash pickup. So as I was cleaning the land off, as long as I piled it in a certain location, and then followed up with a call to the city, they were able to come and pick up some of the debris. Also, because I was on a major street and she knew the city zoning laws, I was able to put some things on the property that enhanced the property, but did not uh, cross any lines between residential and other commercial zoning laws. So that is critical to have someone who knows your zoning laws, what you can and cannot do, and or your farming laws. So you've got some key people in place to help you with your leasing. Your accountant is also a critical person to have participate in how you negotiate your lease. There is an escalation where you can say the first month, because I'm just really cleaning the land or clearing the land or planting and there is no profit, where you can negotiate with your land lease owner where I will pay 500 the first month or the first 3 months. The next 3 months, 750 at Harvard. So there's ways to negotiate, and a good accountant can help you think through what that can look like because they're looking at your numbers for you. They know you're not doing anything the first, sometimes 6 months, and depend on when you negotiate. I encourage people, and I learned this from someone else. She says, "Why are you getting a lease from January, the standard fiscal year? When are you growing? When are you harvesting? What are you doing?" So we decided that we would start our lease in June. So I asked for 3 months grace of no rent. So the second quarter of the year, I had no rent. I got in there, did some work. My lease started in June. Well, by June, I had some things growing. I had some things available, almost ready for sale. So by the first month, I didn't have to pay out anything. So just consider what you're growing so you'll know how to negotiate what your fiscal year looks like. All of this is work about communication, knowing what you need, what you want, how you want it, and how you can present it to a landowner. So those were some of the basic things that I wanted to share when it comes to land leasing, how I did, where I'm standing now, and how it is actually profitable finally. So if you have any questions or concerns about that, feel free to let me know, and then I can maybe share a little bit more. So those are the takeaways I would like for people to consider based upon how I did what I've done and how I'm going to continue going forward. Going forward, the lessons learned were basically to uh, know what I want. And when I don't know what I want, as I'm having conversation with people as they visit the farm, as I'm out in communities, to ask questions and listen so that I'll know which questions to ask. And I recently found a site called aglease101.org. really helpful if you get a chance to go. I wish I had found that initially. Madam, when I say recently, I found this site, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks ago. Someone had asked me a question at another meeting about leasing. They said, "Hey, you're the only one here that's leasing your land. How's that working now?" And then they said, "Hey, I went to this site." So I just recently learned about this site. So I want to encourage people to see what else is out there so that you'll know what is best for you and how you work. Okay. So that is that portion. Are there any questions? So
Carmen,
that
I'm just so impressed by your all of the questions you've asked, all you've learned. I am amazed at your excellence in communication. What would you say in Gary, at least in your area, is the typical amount people pay for a land lease for agricultural purposes?
my 39 square yards, keep in mind that's not a lot of space. The average person would want 500 a month.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. Which is why, wow, exactly. Which is why the more you can ask for and the more you can show someone how you are improving their space, some of the better deals you can get. And one of the other things I should have mentioned, but thanks for bringing that to my back to my attention, is if you're able to pay in advance. So even though you have a 5 year lease, if you're able to pay that first year in advance, now you can ask for a discount. So
Hmm.
just so consider things like that. I mean, if you've got this surplus money, uh, hey, if you can't pay for 5 years in advance, really ask for a discount. So
Hmm.
those are some things. So land here, although there's plenty of vacant land, it's like I said, most of our landowners are absentee, so they don't know the value. They just know what they think it is or what is assessed. So they just want to. Some of them just, you know, it's an opportunity to lease and keep your land without having to do anything on it. Another thing that I find here, there's a lot of land that's owned by the city, and they are willing to lease it to nonprofits. So if you're a for-profit, maybe you can consider making a portion of it for profit, non for profit. But now you've got other people on your land that you have to figure out how to use that space, which now goes back into your insurance. What type of insurance are you going to have? So you just have to really determine what do you need, what do you want. Now, if your city is willing to give you the land or lease it to you for $1, hey, go for it. Our city right now is just not leasing to for profit entities, and the lands that they have, you will actually have to clear it, meaning overgrowth. So you can expect to spend out anywhere from 10 to 15,000 just to clear the land, and then another couple of thousand to fence it.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so it's really expensive, which is why if you can purchase it, wonderful, but you don't want to purchase just to find out, 2 or 3 years later, I really don't want to do this farming thing.
Right. Did you have any urban farming friends who were able to help you through this process?
I attended the Purdue Extension Urban in conjunction with the University of Illinois. They had an urban farming class course,
Yes.
and I attended that. And the University of Illinois was is the originator of the program. And so part of the class, it was a really extensive, exhaustive class. Part of the class was land leasing and a very small part. But what I gleaned from that part was they were more focused on leasing acres of land as opposed to a small plot of land. But what I was able to take from that was whatever space you lease, keep in mind what was there prior to your coming on and what the cost for you to mitigate the soil or whatever there. Part of what we have on ours is, and they also were very instrumental in doing soil testing on the leased land in advance. So part of that negotiation is, hey, can I come in and lease? But the beauty of the University of Illinois at that time, they were doing a pilot program on laser testing. So they were able to come out to the two sites at that time that I had in mind. This was pre purchase. So they took the time out with the landowner's permission to come out and test the soil, which actually helped me eliminate one of the spaces. It was
Mm.
just too much for me to mitigate. So the first year is one of the things we had to do on the space that I have, which is why I'm not doing all 6 acres, which is why I started in small spaces so that I could make sure that the soil was healthy. Uh, so those are some things you need to consider. Will they let you just come in that first year with a contract and mitigate the soil? So yeah, so the University of Illinois and Purdue Extension Office are really helpful. Like I said, they have things in place. You just have to kind of these help them know what you're looking for because their primary goal is not the leasing part as opposed to what to do once you have access to the land. So, yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
that so much more to still learn. So
And I'm sure
yeah,
you have so much more to share too.
yeah. So that was the primary thing that I learned. So if you want me, I can continue in this or just give you about 10 or 15 minutes of what marketing has looked like or what
Yes,
would be
absolutely. Love to hear your what you have to say on marketing and how you've made your specific operation unique.
okay. So what we do uniquely, we grow edible flowers, gourmet garlic, culinary and medicinal herbs, and chili peppers. And we grow it in this aesthetically beautiful way. So when people do come to the property, it's more of a, well, it is like a botanical garden. So you come, you touch, you taste, you smell, and you take clippings with you. So it's more of a respite space when it comes to how we engage customers. That is our particular niche. People come there to just be there. And in that space, we encourage people to grow their own. So we're not there to make a profit off of edible flowers or our culinary herbs. We really want people to take what we offer, go home and grow, which is why they can take cuttings home with them. It's laid out. We have themed areas where you can come and you can spend all day in just one thing area. So in the citrus area, you can just sit there, you can just enjoy that space. But what we grow for profit or for commercial use is our gourmet garlic. And our gourmet garlic you will find interspersed throughout every space of the garden, of the farm. Now it becomes the farm. So there's the garden part, and then there's the farm, but you will find it interspersed. So under all of our fruit and nut trees, and we have native trees, we have pawpaws, persimmons, uh, and other native plants, other native trees. And under each of those trees, as part of our permaculture practice, we have garlic. So you will find in the front of the area, all the trees in the front have Penasco Blue, our gourmet garlic, under them. And so people can go in and we talk about what that looks like. We have workshops even. That's part of our marketing strategy to have spaces for people to come to where they can sit and grow and learn. So if you're sitting under the tree doing it, or if you're harvesting the service berries and you look down and you see all these beautiful curly cues, now we can have conversations. But we literally have workshops about that at certain times of the year. We talk about what it looks like, uh, what trees look like in different seasons, or how to take care of trees through different seasons. And we work with a Student Conservation Association, the USDA, Forestry Department. So we try to work with other groups so that when people come out, so you're coming out for a workshop, you're coming out to harvest and taste a few service berries, you're coming out to get a few garlic scapes. Now you can purchase some other things that we offer. And we do one of our most profitable and well attended workshops is that of the aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is our garlic day. We take garlic, we put garlic, our honey garlic, which we get our honey from our bees. So we have honey garlic, we have black garlic, we have garlic chips, we have garlic chocolate chip cookies, garlic ice cream. We have things where people can come, taste something hopefully different for them, and purchase those items. And then they can always come back and purchase more. So we try to make our area interactive. We do that for several reasons. That is our marketing plan. That is our strategy to engage people, to get them out there. But also, it's an added source of security for our area. We've not had any negative problems, but like I said, I'm new to Gary. Gary has a history, and most cities have some area that has a history. But this helps other people be more vigilant in helping me maintain the space. People make sure it's clean on the outside. I see people walking down the street and literally picking up trash for me. So it's a two-pronged thing to make sure that we're safe, we're secure, and that we're growing, and we can engage community a lot better that way. We work with a lot of our local schools and our junior master gardeners. It's a safe space for people to come, and it's a safe space for me to grow as a primary grower. I'm there a lot by myself. So whenever I have workshops, which I do weekly, people are now there. That just helps me feel more secure, and that helps also encourage people to reach out on my behalf. So, because of the schools, we actually had one person to go to a local grocery store, unbeknownst to me, and say, "Hey, she's got some unique garlic." So now have a new customer. They also went to a restaurant. I have a restaurant now who buys garlic from me. Recently I had someone to reach out because they wanted some of our culinary lavender. They didn't realize that all the varieties of lavender that there is. And they've reached out. So they have asked me to come out and plant the lavender from my garden outside of their restaurant. And that's what they will use. So we get creative in how we market by making sure we engage enough people who will have ideas or have need that we can meet. And that's our marketing, which once again is communication. All of it is about how we interact with people and how we can provide not just uh, a one-time benefit for them, but multiple uses or multiple benefits. How can they benefit in various ways from the products that we offer or the services that
I just love it. I love everything about it. I think it's so amazing how you utilize your space to benefit your whole community, and then that whole community is now benefiting your garden and your farm. It's a full circle, and it's pretty cool what you're doing. What has been one of the biggest surprises from your marketing strategy in how it's brought in more customers? What has been a big positive surprise for you, or even negative?
oh, we'll go both. We'll give you one each. We'll do the negative first because it's quick, and then the positive just keep uh, ballooning. So the negative, people are really excited and curious. You know, a lot of people have never eaten flowers, so to come out and try something different. Now I find that some folks will come out and say, "Hey, I was so and such. Can you grow this so I can try it?" Well, that's both a negative, it's negative, and some people really expect me to do this now.
Mm,
I can't grow everything for everyone. So I have to narrow it down to what pairs well with what I'm doing. What else can I make? What value added product can I make from what I'm growing? So my lemon balm, I can dry that. I can now put that in Mylar bags and I can sell that separately. So I can sell you fresh herbs. I can sell dried herbs. You know, what else can I do with what I have? Same thing with the roses and the lavender. I can press that. I can make oils. We can do workshops and do rose waters and things. So if you bring a thought to me, I will gladly hear it. The implementation thereof has to be more than I just need to grow this just so you can try it. So I've
right.
actually had one person who was not happy that I was not able to uh, provide her take care of her request. I just could not figure out, and I didn't say no immediately, even though I should have said no immediately. So maybe perhaps I misled her a little bit when I say, hey, let me think about what else I can do with this product, as opposed to going to buy a pack of seeds and growing one plant for you. Because then you can go grow one plant. So I have to figure out that balance and how to accept what people may want and make decisions early on about how to respond to them. So that's the
Mm,
negative in that sense. But on the other side, positive things for marketing is pretty much similar. When people come up with really good ideas, I like it when they come and say, hey, I had a matter of fact, I had an herbalist to come and say, I really need periwinkle in my arsenal. I didn't know what periwinkle was. So first of all, she's teaching me. She taught, but she also came and said, hey, I know other herbalists. So if you grow X number of amount, then I can help you guarantee that this will sell. So now I have things that are happening because of their requests. That is
mm,
very positive to me. They're enhancing and they're enlarging my offerings because they're coming with ways to help me distribute those offerings. So, and then that taught me also there's a whole community that I had not considered addressing, herbalists specifically, uh, health food stores who purchase herbs. So that took me on a trip to see what some of the health food stores in the area were selling that they were sourcing far and wide. So now I can provide that local for them. So those are some really good takeaways. A lot of my medicinal herbs, particularly, I was growing comfrey to enhance my soil. To come to
mm,
find out that herbalists really still use comfrey. So now I grow comfrey all over the place, and mullein, which grows naturally. I started saving seed because at
mm.
first I was uprooting the mullein. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's so much to learn, but if the community has taught me or are still teaching me what works for them and how they can enhance their businesses. So the herbalists are, this is how they make their profit. So if they can come around the corner and get it, don't have to pay shipping and handling for it to come from somewhere far away, it's a big win-win for all of us. So that's a very positive to find people who are using the products in ways that are profitable to them. So now they make their requests as opposed to just coming and buying one plant. They say, hey, I need uh, 48 of these twice a year. May not sound like a not initially, but now you go and present at their Herbal Association conference in the fall, and guess what? You've now got 10 orders of 48, 20 times a year or 2 times a year. Big difference. So they're helping me to find the people who want what I have or teaching me to offer more that I hadn't considered and
Mm-hmm.
how it could work in the ecosystem that I am considering. So those who wanted marigolds, marigolds, everybody could use them, but now they've been very specific as to the type of marigolds they want. These same marigolds help with pest management and while I'm growing them. So it's a
Right.
win all kinds of ways that I hadn't imagined on my own.
That's awesome. Working with our community. It's amazing.
Yes, and communicating, being open with them and allowing them to share with you because it's always so much to learn.
Hmm.
Always much to learn.
Absolutely. Charles, do you have any questions for us? Not to put you on the spot.
Uh, no, not at the moment. Uh, I'm not going to lease. I'm just kind of listening to in case I can help somebody else with
That's
this.
perfect.
We also up at Acres, we have a management team that we just got hired. How I can't think of their name. I was looking for their brochure. When I need it, I can't see it. Uh, it starts with an H, and they manage all of our lands, the farmlands as well. Or mostly the farmlands, because we have a lot of farming going on and we profit from that. But I guess you're not familiar with them.
I know Acres, but I'm not familiar with um,
Yeah, I'll have to
the
find
one
out at
you're
the next
talking about.
meeting. Because I had a brochure here and I can't find it when I need it.
Okay. Well, you can send that one to me later.
Yeah, they were at the farm show, but they're a little bit different. I was wondering if there's any management that she would want to hire to manage her stuff.
Mm,
That is always an option, particularly as we're growing, as we're uh, growing in scale here. Because the goal for me as a new farmer is to minimize uh, my expenses, which is why I always say never ever go short when it comes to lawyers or accountants. They
Uh,
whatever pay them whatever they worth
well,
and pay them equipment.
yeah, you're bringing up more questions for me to ask when I go to Acres on that committee. Uh, they do it from the crop sharing. So I don't know how they even get their money or how they work. You've brought up a lot of questions that I'm going to have when I go up there.
And please feel free to share those answers with Noelle, and so she can share them with me and maybe with others, because I want to make sure that as we're learning, that may be something worth, that may be an expense worth it to have a management team. And even in advance, that maybe the management team could help with negotiating the lease or give us more input to what to include in our leases. So I really would love to know the answers to those whatever questions
Oh,
you have.
yeah, they're very professional. So yeah, you probably would learn something. They were
Oh,
at
I'm
the
sure.
yeah, they were at the farm show. So you could probably go at the farm show and then get some of your questions answered.
And I'm not familiar with the farm show. I don't know what that is or when that happens.
January 17th, most years at the Coliseum. Now, are
that's in
you?
Fort Wayne.
Oh,
It's
Oh,
in
she's.
okay.
Fort Wayne.
I thought she was local.
Carmen is from Gary, Indiana.
Oh,
Yeah.
I used to fly out of Gary.
Okay, fantastic. But you know what? If it's a farm management system, like you said, maybe there is one local. I don't know. I didn't know to ask that. I know that, like I said, Purdue has a farm management specialist. That's one individual, but that one individual primarily is out of Tippecanoe County at West Lafayette. So that's why they don't offer classes regularly, especially in our area. Now I have gone down to Purdue in West Lafayette for lots of workshops and classes. But so trying to manage locally here is what I'm finding a lot of our new farmers, we're having a little struggle with navigating how we do farming here. So anything that we can get, I would love, we can get our farm manager specialist from Purdue to be more proactive up here. That would be wonderful.
Well,
But
yeah, I'm also a master gardener. And up here you kept saying extension. That's why I thought you were local.
oh,
uh, we have a new association, so we're brand new as far as how we operate, because we're going to be a nonprofit 501c or whatever they call it.
uh-huh.
But we're looking for new ideas too, so that we can expand and educate our people. I'm in the veggie garden, and we give a lot of or I think all of the vegetables this year will go to the students at Purdue.
Okay.
They have
Yeah.
a little canteen there where you can just come in as a student and get it for free. Of course, most of that canned food that they have, they don't know how to handle fresh food. So we have to learn how to handle that better.
Which is a great workshop for you to put on, or for your master gardeners to put on, and that's how our workshops really evolve, with people not knowing what to do with edible flowers. So we now have workshops, which is a value added product in and of itself. We have a fee for all of our workshops. However, there's this big sign. It says pay as you wish, as you can, entering or exiting. So although we have fees, it's really not the purpose, but people who pay tend to give us a whole lot more than we would have ever asked for. So we don't, so it's a win-win once again. They're getting some knowledge, they're tasting things they've never had before. And that's the same, even with in our heritage garden area. Some people had never eaten sweet potato leaves. They've eaten sweet potatoes, but they've not eaten the leaves, and you can just pick those right there and put them in your salad. We make lots of salads there all the time, trust me. We have little plates there, little disposable forks, where you can just harvest and eat. So that may be another way for your group, as you're growing, to maybe get, as a nonprofit especially, have people donate for your workshop.
Yeah, they're working on a lot of things. I'm kind of phasing out. I'm kind of old, but we got the younger people coming in, and they're pretty sharp.
Oh yes, oh yes,
they're real sharp.
Very good.
We have a lot of ideas circulating at the moment.
Okay. Well, Noel, if you don't mind getting information from Charles, that would be wonderful, and to share with me.
Yeah, I'm going to be working with her when I see her at the Purdue plant sale, if she comes, because I want to put in a garden just for cover crops.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, but it's for the insects, so that my garden's better. So it'll be solely for that. And then listening to you guys, I'm thinking, oh, I should put in an herb garden as well.
Yes.
Again, just for the pollinators.
Well, borage would be a really good friend for your pollinators. And that also helps with pests. It also helps with your aeration of your soil. Borage is a really good self-seeding. I like things that are perennials, self-seeding, to make the work a little less strenuous every year.
Yes. When I was listening to you, I'm thinking perennials too, because it's like, I can't do all the stuff that I used to do.
And Charles, with perennials, we are having that native plant sale. So if you're looking for anything for pollinators, those would be good to purchase. Not all of them are edible, but there are some in there like echinacea, which would be that are edible.
Yeah, medicinal and edible.
Yes.
I love it. We grow lots of echinacea.
I bet.
Well, yeah, I would have gotten with you last year on this, but I just ran out of time.
Understand that.
And there's been so many changes, it's kind of hard to keep up with.
Absolutely. Well, Charles, thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, please send me that information after you talk to Acres. I'd love to share it with Carmen.
And if you or anyone else have any questions, Charles, or definitely you, Noel, just anytime, just shoot them to me. And if I can answer, I will. And if I can't, I will be happy to look it up and we can learn together.
Okay.
Thank you both so much.
Yes. And Carmen, it looks like some people are jumping on because of the whole time communication. So we have two options. Either we can share the recording of this, or we can go again. What would you prefer? Because that would be a lot of talking if you want to do it again, but we can just share the recording too.
Well, I'm not an either or, I'm a both and kind of girl.
Okay. Okay.
So what we can do, I would suggest definitely share the recording,
Okay.
but maybe for this next little section, just more of a Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe ask them some questions, who they are, where they are in their land, and if any questions they have. And then I can answer general questions and then highlight, as I go through. What do you think of
Okay.
that?
I love it. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. So, MC and Maria, thank you for joining us. We're going to be doing a bit of a Q&A session. So my fault, there was a bit of a miscommunication on time. So we actually started an hour ago, but Carmen is gracious enough to stay on and answer some questions that you may have on land leasing. And she has been a wealth of knowledge. So please, love to hear where you're from. I'll start. My name is Joelle Neff. I'm a watershed project manager with the Allen County Soil and Water Conservation District. So I'm all the way on the east side of the state, right next to the Ohio line. I myself am a gardener, and hopefully someday we'll be looking into this land leasing. And I'm so thankful for Carmen's willingness to share everything. So I'm just a home gardener for now, and someday hopefully we'll have a farm of my own. But Maria, I don't know if you would mind sharing a little bit of who you are, where you're from, what you grow.
Hi there. Hi, my name is MC. I'm not sure if I cut you off, Maria, or not. I do apologize. So I am a learner, and I'm currently in Atlanta, Georgia. I've gotten the opportunity to check out and follow Miss Carmen's Instagram, and so I've kind of just been excited to kind of see what else is new and to see what else is kind of coming up in the works from that. But I have my own personal little garden on my little patio. It's not the best, but I do enjoy it and it brings me joy. So when I get the chance to just hear about different tips or different I guess, methods to just learn, kind of just go from there. I'm personally not interested in direct land leasing at this time, but like I said, I'm always just willing to learn. And so I kind of just had things playing on in the background as I've been doing things here at the house. So I have no questions, but I just appreciate you guys so much for doing this meeting. So thank you so much again.
Absolutely. Maria, I don't know if you can hear us or are able to speak, but would you be willing to share a bit of where you're from and what your garden or your farm looks like? Okay. Well, you can put it into the chat if you're comfortable, Maria, or you don't have to at all. But just a quick summary of what we talked about, and I'll be sharing the recording of the webinar with both you, MC, and Maria. And Carmen, do you want to give a quick summary of what we just talked about in the last hour?
Yes. First, I want to thank you both. MC, I believe you, correct me if I'm wrong. I know a young man came from Oregon to visit, and I believe you were the other one of his friends that from Atlanta, correct? If you can hear me. But okay, so I'll do it this way. I've had some people to come to the garden from various states who follow me. So whenever they're in the area, they actually come to the garden and or call and say they're driving by or whatever. Oh yes, okay. So I want to thank people who do that. Our garden has become super, super special. So I did, like I said, I let Joelle know that I had encouraged a few people to drop in today. So I have some followers who follow me for real everywhere. So thank you guys so much. And so I was kind of shared the link out with a couple of people who I knew would definitely share with other people. So we all probably got the time wrong or the days wrong or whatever. But thank you so much. What we talked about primarily is relationships. It applies, we were talking specifically about land leasing, but relationships and communication is key in every aspect of life in general. But particularly, I applied it to farming and land and leasing land in my area of Gary, particularly. But noticed, I shared that when we communicate, some of the ways that we could and should communicate is to know what we need, when we need it, how we need it, and to ask questions of ourselves and of others as we're growing and learning. We talked about some of the things that are necessary in lease agreements. And I think this can apply for people who are not considering leasing. What are you doing? How are you doing that will improve where you are, wherever you are? So if you're growing in containers on a balcony, how do you improve that space? If the balcony is a community, apartment community, do they allow containers? So you're leasing that space. You're still leasing the space. So consider that. How do you make that aesthetically appealing so that your landowner or your apartment, or if your balcony is being leased, your space is being leased, so that they will not disapprove of what you're doing. Some apartment communities do not want you to grow or add containers or things that may not be aesthetically pleasing. So just consider how to apply that. And if you're growing on the balcony, if there are people under you that live on say you live on a second or third floor, do you have insurance? Most apartments, I believe, still require insurance. So those are things we talked about in land leasing. So although we may not be leasing land to sow on, some of the principles still apply. Making sure that you are communicating with those whose space you are using or sharing. And even with the types of things that you're growing, how often do you need to water? Does the water go down on the balcony, go down through to the neighbor downstairs? So just some things we talked about was the health of your soil, how to improve what you're doing, what to do with your space during the seasons that you're not growing. If you're not growing perennials, what do you do with that space? You still need to protect the soil even if it's in containers. So you don't ever want to leave your soil bare. So that's part of the leasing agreement. What do you do with the space that you have during the time that you're not actually using it? What are some specific inputs of what do you need to lease your space? Do you need lighting? Do you need fencing? Those are some of the things we talked about and what that can look like for you. So we also spoke a little bit about marketing. And since Noel is more than generous about willing to share the video, the recap, that would be wonderful. You can get a little bit more if you don't have specific questions at this time. We talked about, and since you're clear, MC, that you're not really interested in the leasing part, you may be interested in the marketing part. And if you're growing for yourself, sometimes you think, well, I'm not interested in selling what I'm growing for myself or my family. Well, consider that when we share with our neighbors, that is the part of communication, that is part of relationships. And sometimes our neighbors may want to purchase more than we want to offer as being neighborly. So I can give you perhaps, 2 or 3 tomatoes, but now you want to have a party. So what could that look like? So making what you grow acceptable and pleasing enough where other people will want to purchase it. Nowadays, we're all looking for a little side hustle, so to speak. Growing could be a most profitable side hustle. So just consider that. What does that look like when you're growing whatever you grow, and how you can maybe make a small profit? If you're looking for something special, you want to get, let's say, you know, a, a, a new sound system. Say, hey, I can grow enough, or I do grow enough greens or beans or whatever and I can now sell that. So just how would you package that? How would you make it pretty, or how would you not make it pretty? Is there a local farmers market that will accept some of your surplus? Tomatoes, particularly pear tomatoes and cherry tomatoes, grow in abundance, and sometimes there's more than a household could use. Well, please consider how you could share that in a profitable way. So that's a basic form of marketing, growing on the land that you may or may not be leasing. If you're leasing your apartment or leasing your house, it's still a land lease that you've already entered into. And part of that would even be, like I said, to consider, is your landowner holder open to you selling? Now they may be open to you sharing all your goods with your neighbors, but there's a way when you go to work where maybe you've always given away your surplus. Just say, hey, you know what? I've got some extra tomatoes and I'm just selling three for $1. $1 goes a long ways when it becomes $3, $5, $20. So just consider a basic marketing strategy is to how to use what you have and how to make products from what you have. Consider sun-dried tomatoes if you have a surplus of tomatoes. Think of ways that you can maximize whatever yield you have and create different avenues of selling it. Sun-dried tomatoes are a big hit lately. So you've got a surplus of those. Whatever you have a surplus, what can you do? You like tomato sauce? How can you make some sauce and sell that? Now, if you're going to do certain things, you may want to consider. Now you will get into some of the laws of your local land and how you package them, how you prepare them, which is a different thing. So if you can sell it raw, or just kind of consider what it would look like to sell your products and how you can sell them in a safe way. Most cities have a produce safety association where you can actually just take free classes through your local extension office, um, and or ask some of your local farmer market vendors, where do they get their training from. And Gary, our board of health actually has a department where you can go and do some basic training on food safety. So those are some things to consider as you're growing personally, and how you can enhance or well, enhance is a good word, but also how you can profit from some of the things you're doing. So those are just some things I want to throw out real quick. And if you have any other questions, you can always feel free to reach out to Miss Noel, and or if you're following me on Instagram. So thank you again for that. Woo! Uh, you can always just message me with specific questions, but I would, if possible, may share with Miss Noel, because as we're all learning and growing together, she can disperse that information a little further than I, wider, so that we all can continue to learn and grow. And questions really do help us learn and grow. We may not know the answers, but we're always willing to do the legwork to find the answers and to share the answers. So thank you so much for that. And I hope that was helpful. I know it's short, but she is going to share the original webinar recording. Are there any questions for now, though? And if not, that is fine. I appreciate you coming on.
Hey, hello. Yeah, this is Charles.
We can
Yes.
hear you, Charles.
Yeah, I found the name of that. It's a farm management place that we use at Acres, and it's Halderman, HALDERRMAN.
HALDERMAN.
Correct. And I don't know if they go as far as Gary or not. I know they're here. I know they work in Michigan, so they may be in your area as well. But it's a, I got to put my glasses on. The print's too fine. Real estate and farm management. But they do our crop sharing and everything else as far as Acres is concerned, because we do have some profit stuff that we deal with.
And you're saying Acres. Is Acres
I forget you're not Acres Land Trust. We're a preservative. We have 7,000 acres. or
Oh.
70, I forget the exact number, but it's over 7,000.
And
Some
you
of
do
it's in Michigan, some of it's in Ohio, most of it's here in Indiana.
and you do crop sharing on a good portion of that?
Yes, that's how we get some funding. Besides all the grants that they get, we have a wonderful grant writer. And that's
Right.
something you guys might even consider, getting grants.
As soon as you said that, I'm thinking, wow. Okay. This is why conversations are critical.
Yes. Yeah, because I take that for granted because that's what I work with. And then you forget to say it because somebody might not know what you're doing. Because I'm involved at Purdue. I'm involved in the Allen County Parks. I'm involved with Soil and Water and also Acres Land Trust. I thought you were local, so that's why I was abbreviating the names.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm grateful that we continued on a little longer.
Yes. Okay, well, we'll just leave it at that, but I wanted to get that information. That's Halderman. And again, they're farm management.
Perfect. And thank you so much. And thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Noah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you so much for all of your wonderful information. So grateful for everything that you shared today. I learned a ton. I know everyone else did too. And I will be getting the recording back to you, Carmen, so you can share it with whoever you want to. And I'll be sending it to everybody who had registered today and was not able to make it. So, and it'll go on our YouTube channel as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, boy. Thank you. Thank you so much, Noah. And send me the link to your YouTube channel.
Absolutely, will do. Will
Okay.
do.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day.
Thank you. You too, everyone.
Bye-bye.